Welcome back. Well, the Utah legislature starts this Tuesday, as if we haven't talked enough politics lately, right? Well, Craig Worth, though, he wants to look back at our lawmakers from just a few years ago. We've let you know this, right? Utah just turned 125 years old as a state, so get this. Craig thought it would be interesting, go back a little bit in time to that first legislative session and see some of the laws that were passed. Those involved sheep, cows, not putting poison in candy, as lawmakers sometimes pass. Here's his 125-year-old political report.
Well, Utah became a state in 1896, so that meant it had to have a state legislature a couple of weeks later. And that meant it had to have a place to meet to make the laws, and a place to put the bike, as well as a fancy book to publish the laws. Folks started building the place to make the laws 3 years earlier. It was the Salt Lake City County building. Oh, it was quite the project. And by statehood, it was ready. They even had a governor, Heber Wells. But the legislature had a problem. They remembered the canon, but they forgot to schedule when to meet. So the first act was a special session to decide when to meet, which meant they had to first decide when to meet for the special session to decide when to meet. Oh, that was complicated. But again, they had a swell place to meet, even with nice flags for decorations. Now, the old Salt Lake Herald wasn't very impressed with the first day of our new government. The Republican members took the lead in all matters and succeeded in making a laughable spectacle of themselves. It was a most ridiculous session throughout. They adopted the rule there would be no smoking, but 5 minutes later, half of the members were puffing away at cigars. Well, they did pass a lot of laws, and they were good for the times. Like with all the sheep in the state, they passed a law you had to dip your sheep once a year. This started the whole sheep dipping industry. There were also a lot of dairy cows, and the legislature kept us from being skimmed by skimmed milk scams. So if you skimmed the cream off the milk, you had to mark the bottle skimmed milk in large Gothic letters or pay a $10 fine. Wow! More and more consumer laws, such as one about candy. You could no longer put poisonous ingredients in candy. Well, that was a good law.
Now, while they went to great lengths to make candy and dairy products safe, there's one I don't get at all.
They repealed meat inspection. That was on the books to prevent exposure for sale of unwholesome or diseased meats in cities having a population of 10,000 or over. Yeah, they repealed it.
And I have some bad news. There was fiscal impropriety, probably even a scandal.
Look at this budget. They overspent on contributions to the World's Fair for that year. It put the budget in a tailspin, with overspending amounting to 4 cents. Well, that was almost a nickel. Where was the oversight back then? Not good. Now, the Herald says it was getting to be a hot day in the Senate, but later, warm expressions flowed from their lips like morning dew from the petals of a blush rose an hour after breakfast time. Ah, how sweet. And Utah was off to a good start. Craig Worth, ABC 4 News.
Well, Craig says he never could find if the state recovered its 4-cent deficit. How could they, right, Craig? From that 1896 budget, it could still be plaguing the state. I mean, you have to imagine, Adam, 4 cents is probably a lot of money back then.
I'm sure it was, but I'm going to tell you right now, Nick, I'm going to give you my 2 cents on the weather.
I can't wait.
Oh, boy.